start with a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you this day for this beautiful day that we have, and for this opportunity that we have to come together as Christian ladies and to talk about ways that we can be better maids, ways that we can be better moms and better grandmothers and just better sisters and better aunts. Just help us to be the people that you would have us to be, and for everything that we do to honor you and just to grow in our service to you. And we thank you for the ladies that are here and for their willingness to take their time out of their Saturday morning to be here. Bless us this day and keep us safe. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. All of these things that we're going to talk about today will be things that you already know, that you've heard, but I always think it's good to be reminded, to talk about things to help us to be reminded of things that maybe we have forgotten or that we have let go by the wayside, or something that we can strive to be better. We can always strive to be better. And for this day, I just want for this day for us to learn to honor God in everything that we do. And to honor God by being better maids and by being better mothers and grandmothers and all that. And to remember, as it says in Ecclesiastes 12:13, that after Solomon went through all the things that he went through, his conclusion was, the whole duty of man is to love God and keep his commandments. That's what we're to do. And to remember, as in 1 Corinthians 10:31, to where it says that everything that we do should be done for God's glory. Everything that we do. And in John 14:15, it says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. And so that's what I want us to be reminded of today. And we want to look at God's plan and God's design for marriage as we talk about that. And I have brought my marriage toolkit with me today. And so we're going to talk about some things as we go that are in here that we use around the house pretty often, I would say. The first thing that I'm going to pull out is glue. And we use glue, don't we? The dictionary says it's used to join or fasten. That's what we use glue for. And we're going to talk about it today. And remember that God established a divine bond. He has a divine bond with our marriage. Marriage was created by God, and He meant for it to be for a lifetime. We say in our wedding vows, I take thee to be my wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do us part. But from the beginning, God was pleased with everything that He created. In Genesis 1:31, He says, it was very good. Everything He created was very good, except for one thing. Genesis 2:18, what did He say was not good? Man being alone was not good. It was not sufficient. It was not satisfactory for man to be alone. So what did God do next? He created a mate. What did He do before that? He paraded the animals in front of Adam. He named them all, but He did not find one that would be a suitable mate for him. So God created woman to fulfill man's need, his physical need, spiritual need, social need, and emotional need for companionship. We were created as helpers, as completers, suitable for our husbands. You know, that same word, helper, that's used in that verse was said of God in Psalms 46:1. It says that God is our ever-present helper. That's what He is to us. He provides help in all circumstances. And that's what He created us for, our husbands, to be helpers for them. And we are important because it was not good for man to be alone. We are important because our price is far above rubies, Proverbs 31:10. And we are a crown to our husbands, Proverbs 12:4. When woman was created, man said in Genesis 2:23, if you want to turn there, we'll just read that verse. And if someone wants to read that, that would be great. Genesis 2:23. When he created woman and gave her to Adam, in verse 23, what did Adam say? Verse 23.
This is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of me.
That's right. And then, what does it say in verse 24 that we are to do?
Joined together to become one.
Join together to become one, leave father and mother, leave and cleave. And there are three ways that we can do that. One is that we leave our parents, we know, and that's maturity and independence. We cleave or we glue together. We become, it's a permanent thing. We make a new home. He needs to feel that he's important, that he's the most important thing, and that feel that we are a team. And then another way that we can leave and cleave is that we can be his queen. The New Testament also echoes the need of a man for a counterpart. In 1 Corinthians 11, verses 8 and 9, it says, for man did not come from woman, but woman from man. Neither was man created for woman, but woman for man. So we were created for him, and God desired for that to be. So the goal of marriage is oneness. The two are inadequate without the other. Not that one is better than the other, just inadequate without the other. I'm going to turn to Matthew 19 and read verses 4 through 6. It says, haven't you read, he replied, that at the beginning the Creator made them male and female and said, for this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh, so they are no longer two but one. Therefore, what God has joined together, let not man separate. So it is until death do us part. You know, Wayne likes to say, do not dare let man separate when he does a wedding ceremony. The desires of each other should be considered before making a decision so the two may act as one. And the husband, your mate, should be your number one priority next to God. That's what oneness should be. And oneness starts at the wedding ceremony, but it is built over years, experiencing joys together, experiencing sorrows together, and blessings over many years together in married life. That's how oneness is built. And our hearts and lives are then knit together. And we can find oneness as we work toward that same goal that we should have, and that goal being the mate that God desires for us to be, and honoring him and obeying his commands. And then the next thing that I want to put out in here is tape. This is electrical tape. There's many kinds of tape. Tape is used to bind or attach, make things stay together. So when we think about our marriage and we apply it to our marriage, we want to stick together. Storybooks often say, and they lived happily ever after. That may be the storybook ending, but marriage is just the beginning. A successful marriage is not handed to us on a silver platter, is it, ladies? It's not. Each mate must work at it. It takes both mates working at it. And, you know, we've talked about, last night we talked about adjustments that we have to make. Most difficult, those adjustments are most difficult because it's such an intimate relationship. You know, and we have, as we talked about last night, personality different. We're all different. We all have different personalities. And we have to learn to make those adjustments and to work with those personalities. You know, adjustments like even minor things, really, like where dirty clothes end up, which way you put the toilet paper on the roll, the toothpaste. I like to squeeze it in the middle. Wayne squeezes from the end. Our likes and our dislikes, our moods, and our verbal and nonverbal communication, like we talked about this morning, all those are adjustments. And I found this quote that I thought was really good. It was a couple. It said, when asked how they managed to stay together for 65 years, the woman replied, "We were born in a time where if something was broke, you fixed it, not throw it away." You know, I think that's so true and so important.
That's the first thing I have thought of when you pulled out your tools. That is what we do. We want to fix everything.
Yeah, we do. We do. And, yeah. And we need to want to fix our marriages. We don't want to throw them away. We don't want to throw our marriages away. Each mate will make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. But how should we respond to those mistakes? Proverbs 17:9 says, "He who covers over an offense promotes love." What does that mean? Covers over an offense promotes love. What is that suggesting that we be willing to do? Forgive. Yeah. Be willing to forgive. His mistakes will not be corrected by bad behavior on our parts, and same goes both ways. Proverbs 20:22 says, "Do not say, 'I'll pay you back for this wrong.'" We don't want to say that. We don't want to have that attitude. And we need to reconcile quickly. Matthew 5:25 says to do that quickly. As soon as you can, make things right. Don't let it simmer and linger. And don't let hurt feelings keep you from making the first move, too. We might be the ones that need to make the first move in making the unpleasant situation go away. You know, I've had a friend over the years that would not speak to her husband for days because she's mad about something. You know, that doesn't help anything. That doesn't fix anything, and it just lets it linger on. You know, the Bible tells us that in our anger, do not sin. Ephesians 4:26 says that. In your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you're still angry. You need to make sure things are okay and right. Let's read Proverbs 17:14. Proverbs 17:14. Someone can read that. If you can't find it real in a minute, just read that.
The beginning of strife is like releasing water. Therefore, stop contention before a quarrel starts.
Okay. So, yeah, it says stop it before it starts. This version says starting a quarrel is like breaching a dam. So drop the matter before a dispute breaks out. You've got to be willing to stop the matter, not let them simmer, not let the dispute simmer. And in a good marriage, husband and wife are good friends. We should be able to be good friends, and this will help you get through your peaks and valleys. Marriage is as it should be when two people enter into it with a mutual commitment to keep it strong no matter what. To know that there will be conflicts that arise, that's going to happen. But remember, always remember the golden rule, which is what? To do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And in Ephesians 4:2-3, it tells us to make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit. This will be hard sometimes, but worth the effort. And it is to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. So peace will be the wonderful result when we do that. And anytime you ladies just interrupt me or raise your hand, or if you have anything you want to add or say, I'll be happy for you to do that. The next thing that I have in here are nails. I have a bunch of nails. What do we do with nails? Put stuff together, build things, keep something firmly in place. Well, we need to build our marriage relationships God's way, don't we? We need to keep it strong God's way. And fulfilling and happy marriages are built. They don't just happen, like we said, they're built. And Ephesians 5, let's turn there for just a minute. And look. And I just want to look at a few verses here for now. And Ephesians 5, starting at verse 21, says to submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. And then it goes into the husbands and wives' responsibility to submit. The wives are to submit to the husbands as to the Lord, and for the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church. Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. We are to be submissive. You can keep your Bibles turned there if you want to, and I'm going to turn over to 1 Peter. 1 Peter 3:1. 1 Peter 3:1 says, "Wives, in the same way be submissive to your husbands, so that if any of them do not believe the word, they may be won over without words by the behavior of their wives." Think about that. How powerful our being what God wants us to be in a marriage relationship, and being submissive and being the loving wife that we need to be can win unbelieving husbands over because they see our attitudes.
That makes me think of what Wayne just said about the 7%, 93%. Doesn't say talk from
No,
death.
it's just by
It
the
says
behavior.
behavior.
By watching the behavior. I have a dear friend of mine, and she's such a good lady, and her husband is not a member of the church. I don't think that he still is now, but she is so persistent and so consistent in getting his suit out Saturday night. Every night she gets the suit out and gets it ready. Now, he does go. He didn't for a long time even go to worship with her. But because of her behavior, she's just a good Christian lady. And because she just does that. She doesn't say a word. She just gets it out, gets it ready. Well, now he does put it and go to church with her, put it on and go to church with her son. So, and just in prayer, just someday he may obey the gospel because of that. Titus 2:2-5. I'm going to turn there because I want to talk a little bit about something there. Titus 2:2-5. It says, "Teach the older men to be temperate, worthy of respect, self-controlled, and limited. Likewise," verse 3, "teach the older women to be reverent in the way they live, not to be slanderers or addicted to much wine, but to teach that is good." Verse 4, "Then they can train the younger women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled and pure, to be busy at home, to be kind, and to be subject to their husbands, so that no one will malign the word of God." Now I want us to remember that those of us that have been married a long time and those that are older can be and should be examples to the younger women in our example of loving our husbands and loving our children and being submissive, so that we can promote honoring God and promote bringing harmony to our families. I think that's so needed today. So needed today. And which brings us back to Ecclesiastes 12:13. That the whole duty of man is to love God, honor God. Now, back in Ephesians, it says the wife is to be in submission as unto the Lord, verse 22, and as the church is subject to Christ in verse 24. The word "as" depicts the model that he wants us to build our marriages by. And the phrase "as unto the Lord" suggests a voluntary submission, a voluntary act of love. It does not mean that our husbands are to rule over us like we're slaves or like we're doormats or something. That's not what that means at all. When we willingly and lovingly submit to our husbands, this inspires them to treat us the way that they should be treating us, gently and with love, cherishing us and protecting us. That's one of the blessings that comes out of being submissive, is that their responsibility is to protect us. Remember in that we get to submit, our husbands get to die in verse 25. They're to love us as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for us. So, men need to be loved. They need to be admired, understood, accepted. They need to know that their advice is valuable, and they need to feel appreciated. And in verse 21, it says that we're to be subject to one another. Someone else come in?
Yes.
Verse verse 21 says we're to be subject to one another. Both husband and wife are to submit. This kind of mutual submission preserves order and harmony in the family and increases love and respect for each other. The husband is to be the spiritual leader for the family. So a wise, Christ-honoring husband will not take advantage of his leadership. And a wise, Christ-honoring wife measure things. That's what we use a tape measure for, to measure things. I want us to talk for a minute about God's definition of love. We're to love beyond measure. That's what we're to do. We're to love beyond measure. 1 Corinthians 13. We're just going to briefly go through this. Where it says there, love suffereth long. What does that mean? What does it mean to suffer long? I'm sorry?
For a long time.
Long time. Be patient. We need to be patient, don't we? Patience is so necessary for two people to be able to work through conflicts and adjust to one another, to adjust to the different personalities that we have. And then it says love is kind. Kindness. Love shows kindness in so many little ways. And saying thank you and I'm sorry. And you know, Wayne mentioned that he mentioned the word nagging this morning a little. Just one time he mentioned that. But you know, nagging is not kindness. It's not. Sometimes our husbands think if we ask things over and over, we're nagging. Maybe sometimes we don't mean for that to be nagging. But
If they just do it the first time.
I just said it. That's what we're all thinking.
Correct. You know, we don't want to be naggers, but we sometimes have to remind our husbands again. You know, we have to remind
Well, we
them.
have to be reminded too.
And we have to be reminded too, you're right. So nagging is not kindness. And then it says, love envieth not. It is not jealous. It is not possessive. Love, trust. Proverbs 31:11 says her husband has full confidence in her. We want our husbands to have full confidence in us, and we want to be able to have full confidence in them. And we don't want to be envious. Love vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up. What does that mean?
Not proud.
Not proud.
Humble.
Humble, yeah. Some people cannot feel important themselves until they make others around them seem less important. You know, we don't want to be that way. Marriage is not a place for arrogance. It is not a place for arrogance. Love doth not behave itself unseemly. What does that mean? Behave unseemly.
Counter to what it's all about.
Right.
Counter to itself.
Right. Be courteous and polite. You know, so many times we find ourselves being more polite to people out at restaurants and in the world sometimes than we are at home. We need to make sure that we're not that way. It has no place for rudeness. Does not pout. Do we pout sometimes? We need to be careful that we don't pout. Love seeketh not her own, or it's not unselfish. And we don't think of our own interest, but also the interest of our husbands and our maids. Love does not insist on its own way. We can't always have our way. Like Wayne said, our own way. Wayne said this morning, it needs to be our way. It needs to be together, us and we. Love is not easily provoked. What does that mean? Not easily provoked, not get angry so easy. Have a good temper. Sometimes we're going to get angry, but we need to be careful what we do with that anger and not to be easily angered. Someone has said you can measure a person's character by the things that make that person mad. We've got to be careful that we don't get angry too easy. And taketh not account of evil. We expect the best and not the worst in a person. And we don't store up grudges and bring them up, you know, in an argument. Well, you remember when you did such and such back so many years ago. You know, we women, we can remember.
And guys don't.
No, they don't.
They don't even know what you're talking about.
They don't. We can remember, because I know in the past I have said, don't you remember when your mother and the in-laws did such and such, you know? And he had no clue why I was talking about. So it's not good to bring things back up. Once you've had it, a grudge, and you work it out, and you've had forgiveness with one another, then you don't need to bring that back up and try to use that. Love rejoiceth not in unrighteousness, but rejoiceth in the truth. Love is never glad when things go wrong or when someone does something wrong. Love beareth all things. Love knows no limits to its endurance. Love believeth all things. Love knows no end to its trust. Love hopeth all things. Love expects the best of its mate. Love endureth all things. Love never fails. This bond is binding until death. Love is one of the strongest motivating factors in the world. And you know, it's so important to Christ that he said the two greatest commandments are what? What is it?
Love God, love your heart, soul, and mind.
And then what?
Love your neighbor as yourself.
And that would also include our husbands. Love our fellow man. Love God first, and then love our fellow man. So that was important, very important to God. This kind of love goes on loving even when they become unlovable. We all become unlovable sometimes, don't we? And the love that we have for one another should remain strong even during those times. Just the same as we should love our children that way too. This kind of love is Christ's love. Christ's love is a pattern for us. Christ's love is sacrificial, and he gave his son to die for us. Unconditional, he wants us all to be in heaven, and it's eternal. That's how our love should be. Our love should be all those things: sacrificial, unconditional, and eternal. And the next thing I have in here is something I've been using a lot because we haven't been in Mount Juliet very long. We've been there since November, so I've been hanging a lot of pictures, things, picture hangers, little things. Little things, these things are small, but they're important, aren't they? If you want to hang a picture on the wall, you got to have them. Remember in our marriages and in our relationships that the little things are important. The little things that make a difference. We need to take time to connect with each other during the day. Sometimes we might leave little notes, or today, in today's times, we can send a text message to our mates just to try to keep that connection during the day when you're apart. Some of you get to spend more time together. Greet each other with a hug and kiss. That's important that we don't leave those things out. Set aside a special time to spend time together. And those of you that have children at home, make sure you make time for your mate. Christ is first, then our husbands, then our children. That's the order that it should be. When I was first married, young Mary, Wayne helped me to learn. I wasn't raised this way. In my family, I wasn't raised with a lot of hugging and that kind of thing. So he helped me to learn that's important. It's important to do that. And it's important when you walk by, if you walk by your mate, maybe to just touch them on the shoulder or, some way to let them know that you know they're there, And he would say, well, you walked by me and you didn't even touch me, or well, I didn't know I was supposed to. So he helped me to learn that's a little thing, but it's an important thing. It makes them helps them to still feel that they're important and that they're noticed.
Excuse me. I have a thought that I just must express, that kind of thing is good modeling behavior for your children.
Yes, it is.
And your grandchildren.
It is very important. Very important that they see that too, so that they can build the kind of relationships that they need to build. Maybe show interest in the things that he's interested in, and Sometimes I maybe even help them in the yard. Some of you guys probably mow the yard. I do not, but I get in the yard and help him sometimes. Just share that with him. And ask them how you can meet his needs. Sometimes we just have to ask them, what can we do? How can I help you today? It might be simple things like ironing a shirt, or making them a cup of coffee, or fixing them a snack, or something simple, but it would be some way that we can meet their needs. And the most important thing that we can do for our mates is pray for them. I think that is the most important thing that we can do. And be careful that we don't get in a rut. I looked up the definition for the word rut, and it said, a fixed or established mode or procedure or course of life, usually dull or unpromising. That's what a rut is. We don't want to get there, do we? Sometimes we get in ruts if we're not careful. We can get there. It's a dreary routine is what a rut is. And we don't want to take each other for granted. Another thing that rut stands for is really ugly things. We don't want that going on in our marriages, so we have to be careful. I have this sweet little picture I want to show you that I found on the internet. And it has, I'll pass it around. The quote, it says, enjoy the little things in life, for one day you'll look back and realize they were the big things. And I think it's so cute. I don't know if any of you have seen that movie of those characters in the movie Up. It's a sweet, sweet movie with a sweet message about him fulfilling something that his wife wanted to do, and she had passed, and he was trying to fulfill her dream. And the little things can be the big things. Little things combine to make a big difference. So there must be a constant appreciation for each other and thoughtful demonstration of gratitude always in our marriages. And then the last thing I have in my toolkit is a flashlight. We use flashlights to be able to see in tight spaces, and but we want to let this flashlight represent the light that we keep the spark, that we keep the light glowing in our marriages, that we keep our spark continually lit. A flashlight can also be called a torch. We want to keep that torch burning and keep that light always rekindled. Stay connected in the midst of busy schedules. Be spontaneous. Maybe decide you want to take a trip, or just spend some time together that you really haven't planned. Just be spontaneous in your marriage, and maybe reminisce about when you first met. I've done that. We've done that before, and it's good to reminisce about when you were first met, and how you first met, and how you first fell in love, and all that. And I found this on the internet too. I wanted to show it to you in my studies. I found this article on the importance of kissing in marriage. I think it's very important to remember to not leave that out. Just the little kisses. It's a quick way to keep you centered. We run in a million different directions usually in our lives. Sometimes we have none or very little conversation all day long with our mates until the end of the day. A quick kiss hello and another before you fly out the door is a simple way to remind you of your feelings for each other and to keep you focused where you need to be focused on your marriage. It keeps you calm. Kissing keeps you calm, makes you happier. It has been proven that kissing releases a hormone that decreases stress and helps you to feel more connected. It can help with the toll of the day. And the next time you're feeling overwhelmed at the end of the day when you come home, take the time to kiss your mate. Just kiss your mate. And then you'll feel less stressed and ready to take on what you need to take on. It keeps the romance going, and you want to keep that. You want to keep that romance in your marriage. Sometimes it goes by the wayside. When we get in those ruts, the romance goes by the wayside. Not so much time keeping that in the air. Everyday activities, those of you that have children, and those of you that are maybe taking care of elderly, sick parents, there's a lot of things that keep you sidetracked and get you off track. And a kiss is a wonderful way to bring that romance back and helps you to remember that you love each other. Helps you to remember your love that you share. And it brings each other security, as she mentioned a while ago. Kissing on a regular basis brings security to the whole family. The whole family. It will help you to remember that you're there for each other, and it will bring security and strength in your relationship, and it will help the children to feel strength and secure also, because they'll see that you love each other. They'll see that their mom and dads love each other. You know, that's so important for them to see that.
And it filters down, because I have grandchildren now, and I probably hug them and kiss them too many times, but, you know,
Well,
I don't think you can enough.
I don't think so,
And,
and I think it's good for them to see.
When they leave my house every day, I stand on the deck and wave and blow kisses all the way down the road, so, you know, when they're going. And they do it back, and I think that's something they'll remember, and they'll continue to do as they,
I
you
think
know.
so, yeah. Our youngest one is 19 months, and he's blowing kisses already. And, yeah, saying the words, I love you, and kissing every day, I think that's one of the most important things that we can do to help keep our marriage strong, to help keep the romance going, because, you know, those of us that have grown children, then it's you and your mate, you know, empty nest, and we don't have the children with us to care for anymore, but we still have each other, so we need to keep that romance there so that we can still have that wonderful relationship.
You're
And so
teaching
many-
your children too, when they're younger, you know, how to be good mates when they're older, and how to act and
Right,
all, so, yeah.
it sure does.
You can even do it over the phone. I have grandsons that live in Boone, and, you know, I never fail to say, don't you forget how much I love you, and they'll always say, I love you too, Grandma, so
Right.
much, you know, and stuff, and it means a lot
And we
to
have-
me that they take the time to even listen to me, because
I
they're
know.
19 and 21, and,
Oh, wow.
but they answer their phone. And, you know, my son says, you talk to them more than I do. I said, well, I don't know what it is, but they see Grandma calling and they answer the phone. I don't know, you know.
It's encouraging to me. We have an 11-year-old, and we don't get to see him as often. He lives in Little Rock, and I try to let him know all the time too. You know, I love you, and but I text him. He's a texter. He's only 11, but he's a texter. But he's a short texter. And I'll say, "Hope you had a good day. I love you tons." That's my phrase to him. I love you tons, and he always sends it back. LYT. Well, at least I just love the fact that he saw it and he texted me
Yeah,
back, even
yeah.
if it is just those 3 little letters, LYT. It makes me feel good, and hopefully it'll make him feel good too.
And it does. I mean, I have an almost 24-year-old and a 31-year-old. And no matter what, they talk to them on the phone, they always tell them they love you, and before they leave, they give us a kiss or whatever.
Isn't that great? Yeah, I think that's so great to instill that in your children and grandchildren, because, like you said, it helps them to build homes the way that God wants them to. It helps
And
them to have strong relationships.
It's depressing where so many homes are broken, and I remember my daughter saying in her senior year, in their homeroom, they always did some kind of thing that they would talk about, or issues or something or another, and one time it was, who has their parents still married, and out of her homeroom, it was just her and another person. And it was very, very depressing, and she came home, she said, but that made me feel proud, and so, but then it was discouraging too, and
Yeah.
it's like, wow.
That's why, you know, it's so important that we teach this to our children and grandchildren, so homes can be what they need to be, because that's the backbone of our nation, is our homes and our families, and we want to try to help that to be strong, to be like it should be. It's hard.
And that's not a new situation. Back in 1974, I know half of a second grade class, the parents were divorced. So it's not a new situation, you know.
I found this too, I just wanted to share with you. It says, 20 ways to make a difference in your marriage. Say I love you every day. Pray for each other. Greet him warmly. offer a kind word, give thanks, speak the truth, look at the bright side, shrug off small annoyances, snuggle together, serve cheerfully, listen carefully, apologize humbly, kiss on the lips often, laugh at each other's jokes. You know, you might hear them over and over, but you laugh at them again and again. Give a soft answer, smile at them, forgive fully, spend time. 10:9. You know, the Bible tells us there, just not to let it put it asunder, to love each other for the rest of our lives. And then here is 10 ways to love your husband. And this, I have some Bible verses. I'm not going to look them all up, but we'll briefly see what time it is. Listen without interrupting. We talked about that this morning, didn't we? Listen without interrupting. Proverbs 18:13 and verse 2. Verse 2 and 13. A fool delights in airing his own opinion. Speak without accusing. James 1:19. Quick to listen, slow to speak. Give without sparing. Proverbs 21:26. The righteous give without sparing. Pray without ceasing. 1 Thessalonians 5:17. I am going to turn to Proverbs 17:1. This one, answer without arguing. Better a dry crust with peace and quiet than a house full of feasting with strife. Isn't that true? That's so true. Respect without pretending. Romans 12:10. Be devoted to one another. Enjoy without complaint. Philippians 2:14. Do everything without complaining. That doesn't say do some things without complaining, does it? It says do everything without complaining. Ooh, I have to watch that sometimes. I get to be a little bit of wanting to complain. Trust without wavering. 1 Corinthians 13:7 says that we always trust. Forgive without punishing. Colossians 3:13. Bear with one another and forgive as the Lord forgave you. That's a big way to forgive, isn't it? Promise without forgetting. Keep our promises. Proverbs 13:12. A longing fulfilled is the tree of life. Those are good ways that we can love our husbands. And here's something I read about marriage. It's by F. Burton Howard. And it says, if you want something to last forever, you treat it differently. You shield it and protect it. You never abuse it. You don't expose it to the elements. You don't make it common or ordinary. If it ever becomes tarnished, you lovingly polish it until it gleams like new. It becomes special because you have made it so, and it grows more beautiful and precious as time goes by.
Who was that by?
F. Burton Howard. I thought that was a really good description of marriage. And love isn't perfect. It isn't a fairy tale or a storybook, and it doesn't always come easy, does it? Love is overcoming obstacles, facing challenges, fighting to be together, holding on, and never letting go. It is a short word, easy to spell, difficult to define, and impossible to live without. Love is work, but most of all, love is realizing that every hour, every minute, every second of it was worth it because you did it together. Exactly what Wayne was talking about this morning. That was an unknown author. Success in marriage is much more than finding the right person. It is a matter of being the right person. And marriage, I liked this quote, marriage is a gift from God to us. The quality of our marriages is a gift from us to Him. 4 things to remember in our relationships, in our married relationships. Put God first. He should be first. Become and be best friends. Build on a foundation of trust. And then love each other unconditionally. And I think those are good things to remember to help our marriages to be strong. And many of you have seen those, they have a lot of them out now, rules for families, rules for children, you know, on these boards for you to hang on the wall hangings. I saw this one, it says, rules for happy marriage. I think they're right on to what we were saying today. Laugh together, be the first to say I'm sorry, say I love you, forgive, don't bring up the past, hug, hold hands, kiss, be in the moment, remember why you fell in love, compliment each other, listen, encourage each other, and show gratitude. I saw that one, like on Etsy. Do y'all ever get on Etsy and look at things? I thought that was really good. So, first and foremost, in all of our relationships, we want to honor God, love God, honor God, keep His commandments, and when we do that, we will be the mate that we should be, and we will be the moms and the grandmothers that we should be, to help our families and our marriages be stronger, be what God would have them to be. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.